Welcome to this special session from the IACA Annual Training Conference in Orlando. In this video, you'll see the question and answer forum with the candidates running for Vice President of Membership. This session gave attendees a chance to hear directly from the candidates, learn about their vision, and better understand how they would serve our community of analysts. We're pleased to share this recording with you so you can watch or rewatch the discussion as you consider your vote in this important election.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the candidate virtual question and answer event that's being held at the IACA FCIA conference. We are recording this via Zoom, and we have our 3 Vice President of Membership candidates here with us today. Before we get started on the actual questions and answers, I'm going to go over some guidelines. So as a reminder, this is being recorded. I am Ria Gerstenkorn. I am the chair of the elections committee. I have my fellow committee member, Ali Leduc, with me. And then we have our 3 candidates for Vice President of Membership. We have Ashley Settles, Cody Gabbard, and Noah Fritz. Today, the candidates will be provided 2 minutes to answer their questions and provided a verbal cue at 1.5 minutes and stopped at 2 minutes. Any questions not asked will be posted to the elections forum, where candidates are encouraged to answer them. The recording will be posted to the IAC's YouTube page and can be viewed there within the next several days. Do we have any questions from the candidates? Okay, I will turn this over to Ali.
Good afternoon. Just a quick overview. I'm going to ask the first question to Ashley. You'll answer it first. Cody, you will answer it after her, and then Noah. When we get to the second question, Cody, I will address it to you. You'll answer it first, then we'll go to Noah, and then to Ashley. Does that make sense? Okay, and I'll try and address it with your name as we get there. So the first question, these are questions that were put together by IACA members who have emailed it to the committee. So we're going to start with the first question. What's the one thing you change in the first year to make the IACA membership feel more valuable to every member, no matter where they are in their career? Ashley?
Of course. Thank you for asking the question. What I would do first for making sure that the membership is more valued is connecting more. That would plan to be our marketing committee partnering with them to kind of do more reach out events, not necessarily just webinars or simple talks, but a way to really connect, and also paying attention to the feedback from the community forums. A lot of our members do use our community forums to ask questions and network with each other. So it's a great avenue to really pay attention to what our members are wanting. So that would be kind of my main focus on making sure that our membership and all of our members feel valued, is really listening to them.
I couldn't see. Rhea, did you give her the time? I couldn't see it. Okay, I'm sorry. Cody, would you like me to ask the question again? Okay. What's the one thing you change in the first year to make the IACA membership feel more valuable to every member, no matter where they are in their career?
I'll take it from the standpoint of how I got more involved. And I think that's making it easier for folks to actually be formal members within the association. And by that, I mean being on committees, and then really getting into that pipeline of being able to volunteer more and being able to, have the background to actually run for positions. Because again, most of the time we don't have, that many folks actually running. Me personally, I reached out, a couple of years ago to I think it was like the vice president at the time, and gave my interest in the mentorship committee, got on that. And once I learned more about IACA, I was able to, actually volunteer more and actually see what other types of things I could do. I want to make that easier. We've got a whole list, an Excel list right now of people who have volunteered, that said that they want to volunteer and be on these committees, and only a handful of them have been able to pick because we don't have enough positions, and either they maybe haven't been reached out to. So I want to try to make that process a little easier, and particularly even expand some of our committees so that we can have more volunteer opportunities for folks who have already raised their hand. Thank you for the question.
Noah, would you like me to repeat the question for you as well?
No, I think I've got it. Thank you. I hope everybody can hear me. I'm just getting logged in. I got sent to the wrong room, not the ballroom. I thought the ballroom was where we were at with the main speaker today. So sorry, I'm a little bit late getting caught up. I think the first thing in the first year that I hope to do, and obviously would need to talk to the board about this, but I'm committed to doing a monthly listening session, for the lack of a better term to call it. But I have my own account and I could use the IACA account if they want to endorse it. But I want to have a monthly Zoom meeting where any member can log in and just have a conversation about the direction of the association, concerns about the association, and begin to just make sure we're addressing concerns that folks have. And I would do that every month on a preset time, or move it so that different people across the globe and at different times. I think that's the biggest challenge there. And I'm certainly willing to record those so that other members could listen to that if it's not at a convenient time, and then comment back in emails, or maybe a forum dedicated to that. But I would like to have a monthly listening session with all of our members.
Great, thank you. So Cody, you will have the chance to answer this question first. So the next question is, how do you see technology, whether it's the ESRI hubs, the real-time centers, or other tools, shaping the future of the IACA membership?
I mean, I think tools help us, connect a little better. But I also don't want to put too much emphasis on it. I mean, if we, look at the example. Oh, thank you. It's all right. I've only been doing this for 6 years.
Thank you. So to be honest, I don't want to put too much emphasis on, the technology. I think a lot of us are embracing it, and obviously we need it for certain things. But let's give an example of the ESRI Hub. I think that's a tool that could be leveraged and potentially leveraged a little more. But if you look at the tool now, it basically just has a list of where people are. And if you look at the two categories of what people's education level are and what their background is, the two biggest answers we get are null, or no data entered. So I think before we actually start leveraging these technologies, we need to actually vet them a little better, and actually start using them a little more before we actually roll them out. I think a lot of it, also has to do with more like the training folks, and I'll support them in any way I can. But I also kind of want to stay, in our particular lanes. I want people to be able to, act and make actions based on, what they've been elected to do. We have a really great training person in Kyle that oversees that. So, as membership, I want to leverage that, but again, not also step out of my particular lane and getting into, other types of technology. Thank you.
Noah?
Repeat the question for me.
Sure. How do you see technology, whether it's the ESRI hubs, the real-time centers, or other tools, shaping the future of the IACA membership?
That's an interesting one. It said real-time crime center, and they're one of those, right? And I guess we're in competition already with another association. So to the extent that we can begin to partner with those, I don't know if that's the technology, but we certainly ought to be on the cutting edge of some of that. I agree with our keynote speaker today about the kind of the best real-time crime centers I've seen is a hybrid with sworn and analysts in the same room. I know I just visited and did an on-site assessment of Toledo, who are also incorporating drones and trying to cross-train people. So I think that's one where the more knowledge we can have about that technology. Certainly, I'm a big ESRI fan. I ran a crime mapping program for a decade. Our relationship with ESRI is critical. And whether that's the hub or other kinds of tools that we can leverage on their behalf, they're not the only ones out there doing that, whether that's Teams or Zoom type interactions. And again, we have to kind of cover that across the 24-hour period to really meet the needs of our international membership. And I think to get them and empower them to do some of that on their own, whether they're having regional meetings or things like that, that can take advantage of that. And then other members in other parts of the country or the world could listen to those and comment. Probably the most important thing is our own web is improving our forums so that we find ways, and some of that just might be
30
better.
seconds.
And I'll wrap that up. And so we get that engagement better and more members involved.
Thank you. Ashley, would you like me to repeat the question? How do you see technology, whether it's the Esri hubs, real-time centers, or other tools, shaping the future of the IACA membership?
That's a great question. First and foremost, I've been working with one of our technology committee members, Stacy Belladin, working on building up the IACA Esri hub and a lot of the dashboards that are currently in place on the website. A lot of the data that feeds into that, she retrieves from our membership committee. So I've been working with her to kind of build that up. And I know there's going to be a new one coming out soon, a training dashboard too, which I'm really excited about because it will really showcase everything that our training committee has done to really, move forward, especially when speaking on leveraging technology. But I like the IACA Esri Hub because right now there are so many different unique products that are built around the world by other analysts. So it's a great way for analysts that don't have a chance to come to our annual training committee to kind of showcase what they've been working on and other ideas for analysts that are thinking of ways to do something. It's a really unique tool. As far as real-time centers, I'm speaking at the conference this week on building one for my current agency as the sole analyst there. And I'm hoping to work with other analysts, especially in this role, and inspire them and encourage them that it can be done. At a slower pace. It doesn't have to be tomorrow, because I know we're built in traditional and the foundation of what we do in analysis. But yes, I think there is a future for real-time centers within the
30
IACA. I
seconds.
just will get there. It's just not going to happen right this second, but we're working on it. And I think it's a good point in our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Noah, you'll answer this question first. If elected, how would you make sure international members feel just as connected and represented as US members?
It's a good question. I think I don't make the distinction that the United States are not international members. We're all members of this profession. And there are certain challenges that we have as we've grown over the years. Certainly the majority of members come from the United States. And I think we should leverage that group to reach out and do much more outreach to all the other interested countries. I would also argue there's 17,000 police departments in the United States that we also need to do outreach. So I don't particularly make a distinction. I think it's an important goal of the IACA, given our name, international, but I don't think the United States is succinctly not a part of that community. That's what it means to be international. And I think we need to get all of our members involved in discussing, helping, being mentors to any country that we identify that has an interest, and maybe use our 501c3 status to leverage funding to get them the tools and the organizational structure built in every one of those interested countries. So that's where I would take a really hard look at.
Okay. So we're going to go to Ashley.
So what I would do to make sure our international members are more involved, based on our latest membership report, for those that aren't aware, I am the current assistant chair of the membership processing committee. And part of what I do on that committee is put together our monthly and or quarterly membership reports. So I do have a keen sense of what makes up our current membership. And we just reached, I believe, if my numbers are correct, almost 25% of our membership now are of our international members outside of the United States, which is great. I think it's a great reflection of why we're called an international association, is because we're based not just solely in the United States where we were founded, but outside of the United States. Part of what I think to do in taking on this role will be working with our new chair of our International Development Committee, Agnes, to see kind of what her vision is with all of our international members. Just like at the conference every year, we have an international exhibition where our international members are able to kind of showcase their work. We set up a specific room for them, and people can ask them questions about what's going on in their country, how they're leveraging analysis to benefit themselves. And it's a really unique opportunity. One of the things I would like to do is to kind of make this available to our international members that aren't able to come out to our international or our committee, our training conference. By doing that, by leveraging technology. So if there's a way to live stream, working with our marketing committee, social media gurus that we have on our committees, I think that would be a great way to be able to make that a live streamed event so they can still feel connected and ask questions of our members. And that way they don't have to face, financial difficulties or travel difficulties to make that happen. Thank you.
Cody, would you like the question repeated?
So I actually kind of want to refer to my first point. You talked about, how do we get people, more volunteers, more people interested. I think it's the exact same way for the international community. I mean, as you said, 25% of the folks in IACA are not from the U.S. 25% of the people on committees and on the board and all that stuff, they do not represent 25% of the people on that. So I think that is something that we can try to remedy. There's that old saying of, you can host a dance, but it's more about getting asked to the dance. We need to make sure that the international community is actually represented in formal positions. I mean, I think 10% of our folks are from Canada. And again, I don't see many Canadian folks on any of these committees. So I think we need to make a concerted effort to actually get people on the committees themselves. Again, using myself as an example, once I got on the mentorship committee, it kind of opened my eyes to all the other possibilities of things that we can do. And it also got me more engaged and want to run and see the things that are even possible to do. And then, fulfilling that cycle, getting other folks to get interested as well. I'm really excited about the International Development Chair, Agnes. My understanding is she has hit the ground running, and I've already been in contact with her with emails on other types of things, so I know she's really getting after it. I think supporting her in absolutely everything we can do. Again, I think one of the big things is somebody in a leadership role is not necessarily just dictating what you want to see done or how to do it, but letting the people that you have confidence in run with it themselves. And she's already running with it. So I think giving her, the leeway to do new initiatives and get more international or non-US involvement is really the best way we can do to support her. Thank you.
Okay, I believe you've each had a question to address first. So we're going to go back to Ashley. You'll take this one and we'll go down the line. Many members want to volunteer, but don't always know how to plug in. How would you make it easier for members to find meaningful ways to contribute?
That's a great question. I was literally just networking with an analyst here at the conference this week that wants to get involved. And part of that is reaching out. We do have surveys that I know our phenomenal webmaster, Jennifer Loper, builds for us that really streamlines the ways for people to connect. Part of it will be literally just working on building more roles. Specifically for the membership committee, we're continually growing. Literally on average over the last 3 years, based on the last report I ran, it's about 700 members we're actually gaining each year. And specifically within the last year, we had already 457, if I'm not mistaken. So our association continues to grow. So as we grow, things will eventually need to evolve and change. We will need more volunteers, we'll need more help. There is a lot behind the scenes that our members aren't aware of for our membership process and committee, and that's just one committee among many of the committees that we do have. That there is a lot of administrative work, there's a lot of reviewing and processing, and a lot of this is done solely through volunteers. So that's something I definitely foresee is expanding the roles, and not just on the membership membership process and committee, but even for our international committee, especially any of our chapters and translation committees, really all that's going to develop over time. But I'm really for continuing to expand the volunteer roles. Thank you.
But don't always know how to plug in. How am I muted?
Sorry, let me start that again since I was muted this time. Many members want to volunteer, but don't always know how to plug in. How would you make it easier for members to find meaningful ways to contribute?
So I actually think it's almost the other side. So I think we have a lot of people that want to volunteer, and I don't think we've given the opportunity to do so. Again, I reference that spreadsheet. Like we just got a new person on the mentorship committee a couple months ago. We got a sheet of everyone who said that they wanted to volunteer and be on that committee and everything else. Again, big long sheet, maybe a handful of those people actually get to do things. So I think it's on the leadership and it's on the folks that are actually on the committees and the chairs to make sure that those people get something to do. So I think we're doing a good job of actually putting out, volunteer, like I said, surveys and that sort of stuff, but it's actually getting those people involved. I mean, even on the mentorship committee, I don't know how many mentors, myself included, say, oh, well, I'm on the mentorship committee. No one's ever reached out. So again, I think we need to make a little bit more effort to actually get people into some sort of formal role once they've raised their hand. One of the things I hear from committee chairs and just or other folks working within the organization is there's a lot of admin tasks. Like, oh, I wish I could do more of the leading and more of the things that we'd like to do, but I'm bogged down in answering like 100 emails a month. Again, that's why we have volunteers. I think we need people to pick up those admin tasks so that the people that are elected or in these positions of leadership can actually do some of the more big picture items. So I'd like to get more people involved, like I said, informal roles to actually, for the people that have actually already, raised their hand to do that. And again, going back to the international folks, I would like to see at least one non-U.S. person on each committee in some sort of fashion. So I would, like to make that, a very specific, goal within a year to at least get, whether that means expanding to one more position, have an international role, but at least have one sort of representative from a non-U.S. country on each one of our committees. Thank you.
I'm
Noah?
good. I guess the first thing I would do is to leverage our membership database, the profile, and get a really good, robust database of what everybody's skill set is and connect people that way, whether it's mentoring or just there. And then also part of that would be to record and keep track of who has said they want to be volunteers and in what capacity they might have an interest. And then, like Cody said, I agree with him that we need to be more proactive. We don't put it on them, then we go back probably quarterly, or probably quarterly would be enough, and proactively contact them and find ways. And one way to do that, I think there's a lot of work to be done. Cody and I served on a working group this summer for both the elections and ethics. And I think there's a number of working groups that, all of our members are bright, intelligent analysts, and we need to tap into that skill set. And I think they would be wonderful at taking a topic and researching it as a group. And that could be a group of 3 or 5 or 8, and they could volunteer in that capacity. The other thing that, if people have been reading about kind of what my vision is to create a new structure. And I think we have to come up with a more systematic way to get representatives from all of our chapters on a leadership role, whether that's a Senate, we can call it something else. Every country that has a charter or a group should have a representative. And from that group, they can be the leaders of certain initiatives that we have. And I just think, there's so much more to do, whether that's what's our role in real-time crime center or technology or community policing. The future, we are being talked about in academia in all the books on evidence-based policing, and we're in a good position to shape a policing all across the world. And if we're proactive about that and create working groups to send that message, to figure it out, to produce reports, we'll be in a much better position to leverage the strength of our profession and our roles as analysts.
Cody, you get the next question first. Looking ahead 5 years, what's your vision for what IACA membership will look like and how will you help us get there?
Again, I'll kind of change the question a little bit. It's not so much what I see the membership. What I would like to see change from analysts in general, analyst groups, is that we have a little bit more parity with, say, the sward folks. And by that, I mean in salary, I mean by benefits, and I mean by being taken even more seriously. Like, we are no longer the exception. It is now the rule that you have an analyst within your agency. I was talking to folks last night about how they still have, 2 part-time folks, and they've been begging their management for years to make them full-time so that they stick around. Again, I think we need to lobby harder on that behalf to actually make that, more of a reality, and also make sure that, I mean, if we can, obviously it's kind of a moonshot, but every department should have some sort of analyst, right? I think we would all agree with that. Um, One of the things, and this was something that I'd actually been thinking about in the past year, and I'm working with a couple other folks within IACA to put out a survey. And I've mentioned that, in the forums a few times. This is not an IACA sponsored survey, but we are all IACA members. They're working with the university to better understand crime analysts as basically a point in time census. What do we do best, or how do we convey our message the best? When we have data, we want to utilize this survey to better market to these agencies that have folks, or that need to be promoted, or agencies that do not have any analysts, to ensure that we have more parity, and that, an agency in one state isn't paying their folks half as much as they should in other spots. And we can also do direct comparisons with the private sector. I mean, I left a private sector job and lost 33% of my salary. I'm glad I did it, but that shouldn't be a sacrifice that we have to make. And I think we can, when we have data-based or data-driven solutions, we can do that a little better.
Noah?
There we go. Good. Yeah, thanks for the question. To me, it's not so much, and I think it's important that we continue to grow, and everyone who's been involved, and I certainly give Mary and her tenure as president a lot of credit for coming back from some tough times, I guess, that we saw. What I really want to advocate is quality over quantity. And the number that I'm concerned about in my 5-year vision is that we have more than 214 people show up and vote, or 140 people engage in an innovative ideas forum, that number gets up to 50, 60, 80%. I think there's a distinction, and I've talked about it in the forums a little bit, between what I call consumers of our products, whether that's training and conferences, and that's not to belittle them. They want those services, and I think we should continue to provide that. But the group that actually runs the organization, the card-carrying analysts and/or sworn, who are dedicated, almost a calling, is the group I really want to see and start to engage and recruit. And some of that is that we need to do more advanced training at the conference. We need to have a supervisor track so that people that have had that experience. Today, we saw a wonderful turnout of brand new first-year analysts that Annie asked for, and it was probably, I would guess, 70, 80% of the people in the room. And that's important, and that's why we moved the conference around. But we also got to find a way to continue to engage people that have been doing this for 3 years, 5 years, 35 years, and that still have a passion for this. And that's why I'm still doing what I'm doing, is because of that passion. And I want my counterparts to embrace that as well. And so that quality and that dedication to really shaping the profession is a critical commitment that I'm making, and want to critically think about what we might look at in 5 years.
Ashley, do you want me to repeat the question? Okay. Looking ahead 5 years, what's your vision for what the IACA membership will look like, and how will you help us get there?
Great question again. A lot of where my vision is for IACA is transparency. There's so much that happens behind the scenes with IACA, all of the volunteers, all of our committees. There's so much work that is done. For those that saw it at the conference just now, we saw it from our committee chairs, Lisa and Donna, like they can only speak to a fraction of what is done behind the scenes. And I really want to be able to kind of spearhead that over the next 5 years and really showcase of what is it that all of the committees are doing, what are our projects that are working on, and document that so that our members are aware of this. We're analysts, we spend hours reading things, and some analysts, most if not, may not be able to make it to the training conference. So if we can put this information together for them where they can read it conveniently for them, I feel like that's definitely going to help us build towards that in the future. And specifically, majority of, I believe our track record is it's roughly 60% of our membership, members that come to the training conference and it being first time conference attendees. So I think that's really fascinating and we can really take advantage of that with also being more transparent as far as what IACA needs to do. Thank you.
And Noah, this question, you'll start with this. When tough decisions come up, how do you balance your own expertise with the voices and input of the membership?
Repeat that one more time for me.
Sure. When tough decisions come up, how do you balance your own expertise with the voices and input of the membership?
Yeah, I think that's a critical question that we face today. And I'm just one member, and whether I have 35 years experience in the IACA or a brand new person coming in, we all have that equal voice in terms of democracy and experience and good ideas. So regardless of the ideas, maybe a person's been around as long as I have, I think listening and engaging people is a critical element of what we do forward. And I've been a big advocate of making sure that the membership can make motions. I've been almost a pain in the ass to the current board about trying to get that fundamental bylaw right. Someone said there was a mime about me, like the ever-ready bunny that keeps coming back to that same issue. But I do think we have to find a way to make sure every voice in the association is heard. Part of that would be that monthly Zoom. Part of that would be to push and incentivize and or encourage people to get to the forums, market that better, engage and push it out regionally. So we can proactively go to the regional associations, to the countries, and just invite them to whether it's a Zoom session. I'd like to see more face-to-face, that if we had a representative from each one of those, they could host their own. And then some of us in committee chairs and leaders of the association could attend that either in person or in a Zoom fashion today with the technology. But basically listening more, getting more people engaged to share their opinions about things, bringing up good ideas. What again, the keynote speaker said about apathy is a big concern I've got. And I think we have to proactively engage with members to get them involved.
Thank you. Ashley, do you want me to repeat the question? Okay. When tough decisions come up, how do you balance your own expertise and the voices and input of the membership?
I've learned quite a bit over the last couple of years as the assistant chair on the membership processing committee, answering over 100 emails every month. Really kind of gave me a great perspective on what is it our members are actually asking for. And some come through general questions where they're asking about something from our training committee or our mentorship committee. So it's kind of given me a really great perspective on what our members really want and what they need. We also have our community forums, which are a great resource for our analysts to get support if they're not able to attend in-person trainings. But a lot of what I've learned from these emails from our members, it has to do with our regional association committees, which I think we leverage them very well. Regional associations. We leverage them very well as far as a good branding and connection between the IACA. I would like to see that expand further. again, some of the emails that I've received from members, it's mainly just issues with their regional association and their IACA dual memberships not being instantly activated. I mentioned this in the election forms as well, but there's no major concerns that we receive daily from members where they're thinking things are lacking or anything's going awry. So that's what I would bank on is being able to listen in the community forums and being able to really analyze and pay attention to the emails that our members are sending in to us so that we can actually focus on what they want. And I think that's going to help, especially my plan going forward. Thank you.
Please. Do you want me to repeat the question? Okay. When tough decisions come up, how do you balance your own expertise with the voices and the input of the membership?
So I think it depends on, what the issue is. When it comes to issue, but for example, the past year we had a lot of complaints, and there was issues with the elections. We hosted a working group, right? That was something that was a very concentrated effort to try to alleviate some of the issues that we'd had in the past. I think that was a great idea. I think we made some really good momentum. Now it's just, obviously up to the board to implement those things. I think that is one way to do it. I don't think that's the way to do it for everything. If we were to do that for every single issue, we would get nothing done. Just look at, Congress and the Senate now, right? There's the more bureaucracy you put in place, the harder it is to get things done. And I think that's one reason why we hold elections. You are elected so that you do carry out what folks have already been telling you. We have really great outlets. We have the forums. We have, everyone's email. People can reach out. It's making sure that we elect the folks who are actually going to enact those things that are put forward. I do worry about sometimes us being potentially too active. Think of the bulletin in your police departments. I get at least 5 a day that are marked urgent and that, this particular thing needs to be read. I pretty much delete every single one of those because almost none of them are urgent, and you get into that apathetic state when everything is constantly coming at you. I don't think we need to have, I think it's good to elicit feedback, but I don't think we need to hammer the membership with new agendas and getting, targeted feedback on every single little thing. I think we can trust people to tell us when they need to do things, and then it's up to us as leaders to enact those things once they come up.
Thank you. So those were the end of the scripted questions that we have. There is a question in the chat that I will read, and we can address that one. Who just answered that one first? Was it? Okay, so Ashley, we'll have you start with the one in the chat. To gain more volunteers, would you be open to allowing a zero benefit volunteer? This would mean that there is not any financial cost to the IACA with annual dues, training, conference fees, etc.
It's a good question. I think for me, it's hard to just blanket say yes. I think that would be a great conversation first for all of our chairs, even throwing it out to the membership to kind of get their feedback first before I were to make such an impactful decision. I'm not opposed to leveraging different levels of benefits for our volunteers because there are some volunteers that have a really high expectation. They are more in a leadership role like our chairs would be. So yes, they would have a higher tiered benefit versus one of our other volunteers. So I'm not opposed to the idea. I would want to, I'd want to see what it looked like first, especially, and part of what I'm working on too right now, and will hope to work on, is with our treasurer, and to really get, part of what I want to do is work on the transparency, is really see kind of the costs behind what our association is doing and really showcase of where funding is going and what's being brought in as far as membership dues for training dues. So I think that will also play into making a decision like this. Thank you.
Cody, do you want to address that, or would you like me to read it again?
Basically, you said, what was it with the, yes, please.
To
My
gain
track.
more volunteers, would you be open to allowing a zero benefit volunteer?
Yes.
This would
Oh,
mean that there is not any financial cost to the
yeah.
IACA with annual dues, training, conference fees, etc.
Yes, I'll just answer that. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great, like, why not? I mean, if folks don't know right now, I think, I'm not sure where it is on the website. I actually didn't know it existed until a few months ago. We have about 7 different tiers. I think, is it 7? No, something like that. Tiers of membership. Obviously, like the board and the president and that sort of stuff, they get, certain benefits, like get to go to conference for free, flights, that sort of thing. Folks like myself on the mentorship committee, we get to come to the conferences for free, but then there's other limited benefits. And I'm at, like, I don't know, I think like a tier 3. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can do to encourage people to actually and benefit them, whether that's giving them discounts on training, giving them discounts on swag. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So I am 100% open to that. And if someone did say, hey, I just want to do this and I don't really need the benefit, I know I'm not going to come to the conference, so I'm happy to just donate my time. Absolutely, remove those roadblocks. So yeah, I 100% support that.
I'm
Noah?
good with the question. Yeah, I would say 100% would support that. I think clearly it's a conversation both the board and to some extent the whole membership should take a look at. But at a minimum, I think if someone says, I want to volunteer, I would start just simply letting them, assigning them to shadow a committee member or a chairperson and get them some exposure to any committee. And I think that would be a no-brainer. And they know they're not going to get any benefits, but they get that. It will be an extension of the mentoring program, but not mentoring about crime analysis. It's mentoring about what does the association look like, what you might be interested in, whether your membership or technology, what's your skill set. And I think we can connect those dots, and then that will keep them engaged. And then when we have vacancies, we'll get to know people and move people into maybe those types of positions where we do. I also think there's other areas that we need to focus on so we can expand the different committees and working groups, and more people can fill those types of positions. So 100% supportive of getting every single person that wants to step up and not losing or turning them off. Because I've heard from members that say, well, I put in a year ago and nobody ever got back to me. And they feel like they've been ignored or ghosted by the association. And that leaves a bad taste in their mouth. And we have to fix that. We've got to find a way to make sure every single member knew or it's been around a while to stay engaged with the association if we can.
Thank you. Is there, excuse me, with my back to everybody here, do we have somebody in the audience in-person audience who needed to ask a question before we? Christopher?
What their most big benefit was, but I think would say the IACA discussed this. Forums, which for whatever reason don't seem to have exactly taken. How do you feel about that?
I think it is, Cody.
Hey, thanks for the question. Yeah, I'm open to all ideas. I mean, I know folks mention, the forums are like, oh, we'll just put this on the forums, and then I'm like, cool. Well, that's where some things go to die, right? Like we know that. Like even when we put our statements out, like 100 people saw them. So I think opening it all, I'm open to all ideas, and I was not aware of that. And if that is something that did get more traction, why not go back to it? Referencing the dude that spoke this morning, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But like questioning that, hey, if it worked better, why wouldn't you? And so I think there are other opportunities. I mean, even like the app this week, I found that really a lot more useful than the ones we've been using in the past. Hey, maybe we should utilize that. And I think that they picked that up from the Florida folks. So yeah, totally in favor of using that if, for whatever reason, may make it easier. I know we all consume things differently. So having a combination of approaches makes sense, right? Some things, some of us are Android users. If you give me an Apple phone, for some reason, I cannot figure it out. Probably the same thing. I probably would enjoy this list better than the forums myself. But other people probably the other way. So yes.
Noah, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Chris, for that. I tend to agree with you that the old way at least seemed to be more interactive and got in people's, we put it in their face a little bit more often, as opposed to the forums, which people have to volunteer. I also get why some people only want to be part of certain forums. So finding that balance or that sweet spot between. I think it starts with the association having a real strong strategic plan and identifying strategic initiatives and making sure those topics are constantly put out and seeking input. And that should be on the banner. That ought to be reminding people. I think the board should be able to actively participate in encouraging people. Hey, this is an important topic. We'd like to know, what you have to say about that. Reminding people, inviting people to come back, or a hyperlink to that location. So it's a click, boom, and an answer, or a survey about some of that. There's lots of ways we can invite people to engage that we aren't taking advantage of. And I think we can't just do it for everything. That's why we have the forum the way we do. But I think on some things, it's important that, and that's the board's job, that's the membership's job, to set priorities about what are the critical things we're facing, where should we be spending our money, whether that's budget, and things like that. And so I think we can find that a sweet spot between kind of passively doing the forums and getting in people's faces so much that they just want to shut down or quit the association. But I do think we can do that strategically, and we should do that strategically.
Ashley?
Thank you again, Chris, for your question. I think it's hard because we're in a really challenging spot right now, not just for IACA, but for law enforcement in general. It's a mass wave of retirements where we're shifting between generations. So yes, while the previous discussion avenue was great, and I have heard the stories of it, our forums are unique because they allow our members to subscribe if they want to be involved and or follow a conversation, but it's same to social media. It's the new thing. It's kind of the latest as far as, especially with the younger generation that's coming in. If they want to focus on it, they will. So if they want to engage in the forums, they'll subscribe to it, and they will interact. They'll reach out for support if they need it. And if not, yes, there may be the chance of more of an apathetic result. I wouldn't be opposed to, again, something new or something unique. I would also want to confer with the chairs and the members. So again, part of my stance and where I want to head is I want the members to have a voice. Yes, it's a leadership role that I'd be taking on, but I also believe that we wouldn't be IACA without our members. So we may sit in designated roles, whether you're a chair, whether you're a volunteer, whether you are an executive board member, you don't have the final say. The powers that you may have or whatever is written by bylaws, your job is still the voice of whatever the membership wants. So if the membership does decide they want to bring back this discussion item, absolutely. I think that would be great. And I'd be fully supportive of that. So thank you for your question.
Thank you. I'm going to give each candidate 1 minute to do a kind of closing statement, and remind everybody that the questions that we see via email and the rest of them in the chat will be posted to the elections form. So candidates will have an opportunity to answer those questions on the forum. Okay, Noah, I believe you are up for the first 1 minute of your closing statement, please.
All right, thanks. I guess my first thing I want to say is I want to thank my colleagues and the people that are also running. I think it's the sign of a healthy organization when multiple people run for board positions and committee positions and we get engaged. So I want to thank both of them. I've been around. I've got concerns. I'm heartfelt. I think we're all heartfelt about it, or we wouldn't be stepping up and be willing to give our volunteer and personal time. But I am concerned about what's happened in the past year, and I think there are fundamental things we need to focus on, or we're going to repeat that again, either and more often. And some of you have seen it. There's a counter website out there called Not the IACA. I don't want people to go to it. I'm not going to give out that site, but it is an indication that there is a growing cohort, and it may only be a small group. I don't know, that is anti-IACA. And that's the first time that's happened in our history. And we can't ignore that. We can't stick our head in the sand. We have to be ready to address, those kinds of concerns. And that came out of this year. So that's something I think we have to have an honest conversation about.
Okay. Thank you. Ashley?
Thank you. I just want to take the opportunity to thank the Elections Committee first for putting this together, for everything that you've done in the forums, and the IACA Conference Committee for allowing us this space to let the membership see us virtually, besides just within the forums, and ask questions of us that we're happy to answer. What I would say is basically I'm here because I'm passionate about is crime analysis. I've been involved with IACA for quite a few years. I've taken the training courses. I've become a CLIA certified analyst. I'm excited about all of the resources that IACA has developed over the years, and the trainings, they're not done. Kyle Stoker has done a phenomenal job over the years, really enhancing all of the training that we have available. And I want to keep being a part of that, and thus taking on this role. I want to keep meeting new analysts and keep inspiring that if you're the only analyst at your agency, you're not alone. Because again, if you're, oh, thank you guys.
So yeah, again, thanks to everyone who showed up and is listening. We do appreciate that. I mentioned it in one of my statements on the forums, but at the end of the day, the one thing that it always comes back to is crime analysis. That is my number one focus. Everything else is superfluous. I think we can get all, wow. We can, yeah, I know. Is that an omen, or is that?
Give it 10 extra seconds.
Yeah, that shook me. So, like I said, everything else is superfluous. So I know we get a lot hung up on committees and all these different things, and like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? At the end of the day, if we are supporting crime analysis and crime analysts, that is what it comes back to, and that is what I want to advocate to. And one thing that we didn't really touch on, I really want to push more for academic involvement. I've been to other conferences where I see a lot more of the academics, collaborating, doing evidence-based policing. Evidence-based policing is what we do, and I think we need to involve that more with the academics. So thank you.
Thank you all for your time. Remind that this was recorded, so it will be playing through the website and probably throughout the conference. So thank you again.
Thank you for watching this candidate forum from the IACA Annual Training Conference. We want to thank the candidates for their time and thoughtful responses, and all of you for taking an active role in our association. Your participation is what makes the IACA strong. If you haven't already, we encourage you to review the election details and cast your vote. Together, we continue to build a supportive and growing community of crime and intelligence analysts.